What is happening, budget builders, and welcome back to the channel. If you've been here before, you know Dad and I love oddball stuff. And this one right here is one of those. This is a 1955-ish Renault 4CV, something you never see here. In fact, this is the only one I've ever seen. And this one's been off the road since 1970. It's in really rough shape, but in today's video, we're gonna attempt to get it running for the first time in at least 54 years. I guess we get started back here, yeah, at the back of the car. But clearly somebody has snatched the oil cap or the breather cap off here. Fuel pump's kind of half torn into, missing some timing cover bolts. This spark plug, which came out of the cylinder, is sitting here, and that cylinder is actually just packed full of looks like mud daubers. I'm not sure if someone was borrowing parts off of this or if it's just complete junk. I don't even know if we get parts for this thing, but we're gonna try to make it run. Oil surprisingly looks good, no water. It just goes right to the bottom of the oil pan and just bottoms out. Look at this little, look at that. There's a baby. Everything's miniature on this thing. First things first, let's go ahead and get everything cleaned out of here. And since our valve cover's already kind of sitting here, let's go ahead and pull that so we can inspect that valve train. It is just crazy seeing a mid-50s car like this with an aluminum head and an aluminum intake. And Dad pointed out, no oil filter. But what a cool little setup, and I really hope we can get this thing running. I wish this was still in the hole, but oh, it's not even, these are all auto lights. So this isn't even the spark plug that was in there. Ooh, I wonder why it was pulled. Oh, not too bad. That's been open for a really long time. We definitely have to do some major cleanup. Let's look down in that first spark plug hole there, and let's go ahead and start soaking these down so we can try to pull those, because they're crusty, and this is an aluminum head. This valve is closed. This valve is closed, so anything we blow in here, any air we blow should push straight back out. All right, close your eyes. I should probably cover this back up. Definitely a lot more in there to go. Here we go. Let's go ahead and check, see if we can freak these rear three. Yep, this is not gonna be fun. Yep, that's an aluminum head. Oh, aluminum head, aluminum head. Please don't have any threads on you, because that would really stink like poo. No threads. Not a bad looking plug, a little bit of moisture. It's moving, keep it going. It's moving, keep it going. Keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. Keep it going, keep it going. Perfect looking spark plug.
Oh my goodness.
That combustion chamber looks, what the? Oh, it's a valve. We're upside down. Okay. Not bad. Not great. I want to get this thing running. I love weird stuff. Y'all know that. Dad and I both like this oddball, goofy stuff. Dad, not as much as I do. He's back there shaking his head. I just think this thing's so neat. I've never seen one it's just so interesting to me, even as rough as it is. Man, this thing deserves to live. Thinking about a gasket set now, with this car being a 56 or 57, this should technically have, let's see, it's a 66-2 engine type, which is a 747. This one is a 670-1, and I have no idea what that is. Okay, with just a little bit of research, we did find out what's going on here. So originally this was a 760 cubic inch motor that made 21 horsepower. This car had a top speed downhill with wind with wind behind it of 62 miles per hour. Now this is a little bit later Dauphine motor. So this is an 845 cubic, did I say cubic inch? Cubic centimeters. It's like point something liters. Tiny, tiny little motor, but it makes 30 whopping horsepower. And that car had a top speed of 78. I don't think this car needs to do 78. Well, worked and worked and worked this one. Yummy. And it took a little bit out with it. Crunchy there. Not great. Not the worst though. I think before we go tearing it apart, it's worth a try. Let's blow these out. Let's fill them up with some concoction. So what we've got here is actually some like shop grade stuff. And now we just wait and let that soak for a long time. Sitting for just a few weeks now, we take a look and all of our cylinders have leaked down. That means we had fluid that went past the rings. The only one we see fluid on is obviously our lower ones, and that probably means that's our oil level. Now I don't know, we're gonna try, because you can't really get down here on the crank. I think Dad and I are gonna try to figure out a hand crank, because even if we get this thing going with a starter, I want to try to start it by hand too. I mean, that would be kind of cool, right? But I think what will be good, we'll try to get on the generator here, pinch over.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Generator is free. I think we need a new belt. That's probably the least of our worries. Should we try to pull the starter? Normally seems to be our best leverage point. That gives us a good mud dauber. See how clean that block is. Look at that. Probably low mileage. Golly, huge teeth on that flywheel. Good for prying. Make sure we're neutral. It wants it. Without being able to get the greatest leverage, I think what we're gonna try is to throw this thing over in like third gear. Let's put a rope on it. We know it rolls, and let's rock it back and forth a little bit and see if that'll pop it free. We don't want to damage anything, so we're just gonna take it really easy. There's just nowhere to get good leverage on anything. You can't get on the crank, and so I think that might be the easiest way to make sure it'll turn over before we start trying to crank this thing over on something like the starter. All right. I guess we just pulled ahead. What do you think? It's a bit nerve-wracking pulling that head being aluminum. You know, thank goodness we're down in the cast iron block, but you never know where you might be seized here. It is what it is. We obviously have some stuff that we're gonna have to get cleaned up to get that rotating assembly turning over. I think realistically, our best bet at this point is let's just go ahead and pull the head. I went ahead, I've already gotten a seal kit, a full gasket kit for this motor from France. I think we just go ahead and take it apart. We'll leave everything all assembled. All we have to do is take the exhaust loose here, remove a couple belts, and take the head bolts out. The only thing that's concerning, obviously, a little bit crusty aluminum head. We might have to put a lot of heat, take a lot of time to put into it. We might end up with some broken bolts. Thankfully they're all bolts. You know, when you get into studs, sometimes you can't get the heads off. So hopefully the bolts will just come right on out. There's no point in putting nothing on here. It ain't gonna make no difference, but it makes me feel better. That's the cutest little... Oh no. Don't forget to clean out your mufflers. Oh boy, here we go. That's not bad. I'm just gonna see if I can get them all loose and we'll go from there. That's not great. These should be beautiful. Crazy has this front belt here. I'll try to get in here on this tensioner, get it loose. Made a custom socket here, cheap Chinesium. They're the best ones to have around because you can do stuff like this. Beautiful. There she is. That's not bad at all. Okay. They've leaked down or the acetone has just evaporated. They're crusty, but they're not horrendous. So that is a Super Vitex something cylinder 58. I don't know. That's pretty neat. They cleaned up pretty good. It was kind of like that wet gooey rust, but it's not like super gnarly. I say we go ahead and give it a, let's give it a pry. What do you think, Dad? Yeah. Oh no! You've got to be kidding me. All right, little stuck spot there, but it was moving. Let's go back the other way. Oh no, what is that? You go back down in there. Supposed to, I guess they can?
Now they can because the head's not there. Well, now because it's moving the cylinder. As I said, the head holds it in place.
There's so much in here. It's good we got all that because we need to blow all in there and everything.
Need to, while you have these down, we'll try to
clean that up. Whew. I am so excited to see that thing pop free. Now there's a little bit of work to do. Thankfully we've got the rust, but there's not a ton of like crazy pitting. So I think we should be able to clean those cylinder walls up. Hopefully get everything moving over here freely. It's weird, like the rust that was in it, you could tell was like that. Oh man, I got stuff all over this. The rust that was in it was kind of that, that gooey, you know what I'm talking about, that wet gooey rust. I'm not even sure. So hopefully we can clean it up, get that entire rotating assembly freed up, doll it up, and then we can start working on that head. I think we're gonna make this thing run. Do a little bit of honing. Now we're just gonna be careful. Obviously, all we're trying to do here is clean up just a smidge of the rust. We're not looking to take any metal really. Realistically, you should pull your pistons out. I think that's about as smooth as we're gonna get those. I think realistically rebuilding this thing, we'd either need to punch it out or you can just buy brand new of these. But let's see if we can at least get a full smooth rotation out of this. I don't think at this point we've damaged the paper gasket underneath. I don't see it peeled up or anything. It's a good possibility. We'll know for sure once we run it, if it'll run and we get coolant in it. We don't want to do a whole rebuild just yet because we're not exactly sure what we're gonna do with the car because it's pretty rough. So we'll have to kind of go from there. Right now our main focus is getting this thing running. Oh yeah. So, cam's not moving. We don't have any movement. So even though we're getting some stuff turning here, we must have a, I don't know if this has a chain. Yeah, I'd say this is a chain. It's clearly no longer attached. That's obviously why they were digging in. We'll at least take all the bolts out. Maybe we can flop it and figure out how to get this crank pulley off. So there's a gear, and a gear, and a gear. Dad holding the crank right there on the flywheel, getting in here with a breaker bar. We were able to break the nut loose. Now this tool, I'll give you a part number, 1305. I don't even know where this thing came from, but sure is handy. Yep. All right, look at that. Everything. Get out of my way. Oh yeah. Ain't got no gears on it. We're out of here. Oh, yeah, so it's just a nut. Man alive, I thought we were getting somewhere when we got this thing spinning over. We got this one lifter out using the slide hammer, and it is ate up. The rest of them are, I'm sure, like that, and that's why the cam is completely frozen. It looks a little crusty down there, but not horrible. But the problem is, we can't get parts for this thing. Dad and I have been sitting around, making calls, looking around for the past hour, and we can't find anything. So this is one of those. I don't want to give up on it. I think the car's awesome. I'd love to be able to drive this thing, but I don't think that motor's gonna happen. No matter, I sure thought we were gonna, we don't easily give up. You know, we're not easily burdened. We just want to keep on going and going and going and make it happen. We've gotten some pretty rough ones running, but 53 years sitting was pretty rough on this little motor. Able to get two of those lifters out using the slide hammer, and now just barely tapping this thing. I mean, I'm not putting a ton of pressure. We don't want to kill the cam. It is rocking around. Once we get them all up beyond, cam feels really good now. Distributor's rolling along freely. oil pump's working. Dude, this is amazing. We had to kind of take a thought break on this thing for a little bit. We're gonna get this thing running. We were able to find a replacement gear. Now it's used, it's not perfect, but it's pretty decent. It'll at least get us by for now. There is nothing on these cars as far as information, setting up timing and stuff, nothing. But we know that this is cylinder number 1. When you rock it around, your dowel lines up. There's a little peen mark, which you can't really see. And then if you look on this gear, I'll rock it up. There's 2 little peen marks. And on our replacement gear, 2 peens, 1 peen. Before we start putting the head and the timing cover back on, I want to go ahead and reinstall our starter, especially while we have the room to do it. See if it works, see if it'll turn this thing over. Now, is this thing 6 volt or 12 volt? Originally 6, I think. From some things I read, the Dauphine would have been a 12. Someone's messed with some wiring. It appears this is a positive, so it's not positive ground. I feel like maybe we just convert this thing to 12 anyways. I kind of want to just stick a 12 volt battery in here and see what it does. All right, cicadas. You ready? I think it's a 12 volt starter. See how it's just normal speed? Pumping oil. Now with that being said, let's get this thing together. Let's get this oil changed. One thing I realized we did not check, and we should before we get too far, is that this deck is straight. And it is. It's perfect. Clearly, we have not been able to find much on these, and one of those things was torque specs. Now, I probably could have and maybe should have tried to find a factory book or something, but I put a post here. I love different communities. On the Renault rear engine community, looking for torque specs. Boom, we have it. 45 foot-pounds. So we'll just kind of start in the middle here, work our way out. I'll probably start low, something like 20, 25. And then work our way out evenly. We don't want to take a chance of warping this little head because it is pretty straight. We want to keep it that way. That way. No? Can't go backwards. Or can it?
I wouldn't think so.
Nope.
Where is the spot? It's gotta either go this way or...
Oh, beautiful. Ain't nothing wrong with a little sludge. Hey, it's got oil pressure, right? Probably wouldn't hurt to pour a little diesel down in there. We're back together for the most part, top to bottom here. It's time to see if this thing will turn over as a complete rotating assembly. See if we by chance have any compression. Went ahead and topped this thing off with all 2.6 quarts of oil, filled it to the brim. Let's see what it does. Our little rocker's going to town. Compression on 4. Pretty good pop on 3. Ow. So we'll put a rotor button there. Popping pretty good on 2. Nice. Now that we're spinning over good, before we do anything more, let's see if we can get some fire in here. Clearly, we're missing some stuff. We do have a rotor button, we do have a cap. This coil is ancient. It's super cool looking, but I imagine it's 6 volts. So let's go ahead and stick a 12 volt coil down in here because we're gonna just run 12 volt anyways. Do away with this one. It's more than likely shot anyways. We're missing the advance and we are missing the condenser, which is an external one that just hangs on the outside here. I can't get one. I wish I had noticed that. I would have gotten one on the way. Let's go to pull these points. Let's clean them up. We're gonna hang a condenser on the side here, probably off of like a little Mustang, like a 200, and see if we can get some fire on this thing. What a cool, kinda, maybe shouldn't be touching that stuff. Cool old coil. It looks like a can. This is where it should have been. And that's the original bracket. I'm gonna stick it back right there because that's just real fancy.
Red paint can.
Should this go in the trash? Probably. Is it going on the shelf? You darn straight. Making. And breaking. I guess we'll see if this random condenser will do anything for us. It's the same size as the entire distributor.
Okay, so I was just seeing if you already slung it. Usually slung stuff.
There she goes. Popping like crazy. The 4CV asked for 25 thousandths. The Dauphine is closer to 30, and especially being 12 volt with that stouter coil, we'll put it right up there at 30. And these are just B7 HS's. I think factory could have called for B6 in place of whatever the original was. So these are little hotter plugs. This thing is going to be such a hot rod. These are way too short spark plug wires. Four. Now that we're turning over, we've got some compression, oil flowing through, and spark. We need some fuel. Now this thing is dinky, but so is everything on that car. It's a little Solex. You can't get a kit for it. Don't know anything about it. We're gonna try to open it up and see what it looks like in there. Looks like it's only held on with one screw. This thing's missing all the screws. At least these carburetors are readily available. Nice and packed full of my dauber. Even though I tried, this gasket was already toast. Oh my goodness. Why is it so beat up? This looks like a float out of a Nash carburetor. Solex. Alright, here's my thought.
4-barrel?
4-barrel, yes. Let's put a 4-barrel on this thing. There's a throttle plate. Let's get a little squirter. Try to squirt gas down in it. Because this carburetor is fixable. But I can't find a kit for it. I think it's time to see if this thing will fire up. I've got to be honest, I am not sure at all. This thing was beyond neglected for over half a century, 54 years. We tore into almost every little bit of this thing, and not just tearing into it. We had to hammer, beat, pry, grind to get this to this point. And we don't know anything about this other than the mechanical side of it. But as far as specifics, there's not much out there on this thing. We probably should have went ahead and tried to find a shop manual from France or something on this thing. But we gave it a go. Let's see if this thing will run. I mean, we don't know if the timing's anywhere close or anything. Got a little bit of two-stroke fuel. I don't think that's gonna hurt a thing on this. I think he wants it. Come on, little baby. This is so exciting. I love this part. Yeah! Oh, it wants it. Come on, baby. Dude! So close. Good. Yes, that's running, dude.
Sounded good.
It does sound really kind of cool. Okay, maybe that was too far. Oh my goodness, it needs a carburetor really, really bad. Went ahead and got a new fuel pump installed. We were just missing so much of that original. There's no way we would have ever been able to get it back together even with a kit. Before we try and attempt to run it anymore, we definitely need a cooling system. That radiator looks fine. It looks okay. Absolutely packed full of stuff there. I'm gonna go ahead and shove a hose in it. Let's try to blow through it a little bit, flush through it, get that crud out of there, especially now that everything's cleared out of the engine and it looks pretty good in there. We don't want to send a bunch of junk through it. All right. This carburetor is just not gonna do it. This little Solex 22. We're missing so much of this thing. Even if we got a kit, I just don't think we could realistically make it happen. The problem is you can't find anything, especially this small. This thing is tiny. So I bought the cheapest, smallest Volkswagen carburetor I could find, which is a 32. Just a little larger, slightly. But that's all I could find. This thing's gonna be a hot rod. Went ahead and made a little adapter plate here. We don't have proper machining equipment, so we did the best that we could to get this thing where we can bolt it down on here. The biggest thing is that I don't like water in here, and it may. We've got some coolant going down this thing. We've got our fuel system now to our fuel pump, run to that massive carburetor. Let's see if this thing will start pumping some fuel. Let's see if it'll run a little bit better. no water. I think our jug seal is still okay. Well, there you have it. That little engine actually sounds good. I mean, everything was frozen. Not just the pistons, but the cam, the lifters, the rockers. Wow. But it freed up and it sounds pretty good. The reason we rescued this is it probably would have went to the scrapyard otherwise. We love stuff that's neat, weird, and interesting. You just do not see these. I had never personally ever seen one, even though they did make quite a few. They're just not around anymore. And we love learning the different sides of mechanical things, especially French cars. We've never fooled with anything like that, and it was really neat to learn on. Now, with that being said, we're gonna do a little, a couple patches here or there on the frame rails where it needs it. We're gonna throw this thing in gear and we're gonna drive it. I don't know that we're gonna go super far with this car. It's really rough, it's really neat, but they're not really, when you do find them, you can find nice drivers for $400 to $4,500. Sometimes even less for a decent project that's really solid. And this one needs so much. The wheels are rusted out. We're gonna weld in some patches, get some tubes and tires in there, do a little bit to the frame. We're gonna throw four full-grown people in this thing and at least drive it around right here, because I think that's just silly. It's neat. I love this car just from a odd and cool, the interior to me is gorgeous in this thing. The seats have a airplane look to them. They're like the perfect amount of wear. The rest of the interior is really cool, and I actually fit pretty good in this thing. I mean, I'd be sitting in this seat, but it's no longer attached to, I want to say floor, but there is no floor. And it's just cool, and we really hope you all were entertained by that rescue, getting this thing fired up and running. And you're excited to see it dialed in a little bit and attempt to drive this for the first time in at least 54 years. If you all have enjoyed and you haven't already, be sure to subscribe button, notification button to keep up with our future uploads on neat stuff like this, rescues, rebuilds, will it runs. And if you have been a part of the channel, we do appreciate it so incredibly much. We get to fire up, learn on stuff like this because of each and every one of you. Peace out, and catch you all on the flip side.